In this video I'm going to show you how to make your light based images look amazing in just 4 easy steps. Let's do this.
My name is Andy Hornby, photographer and vlogger. 17 years ago I started teaching myself photography. Today I travel the UK as a professional wedding photographer, landscape photographer and filmmaker. Learn from my experiences, my mistakes and my tips and advice.
If you love making these kind of images and it's all about the light, then this video is for you and I hope you're going to get something out of this, so let's go. Okay, so step 1 is all about enhancing the light. Okay, so if you want to follow along with this image you can find a link in the description. So we're going to add an exposure adjustment layer and we are going to play just with the exposures, bring exposure up ever so slightly, not too much, my computer's lagging a little bit. Enough to bring the highlights to a good amount there, and we're going to invert this in a minute, so we're going to play with a mask in a second. Before we do anything, we're going to change the blending mode to luminosity. This means it's only going to affect the light and not actually change the colour of anything, so it's just going to brighten areas rather than change the colour of those areas at the same time. And we're going to invert the mask now, Control I or Command I if you're on a Mac, and then take a brush with a white brush, not a black brush, and set the flow to something quite low, around 20, 15, 20, something like that. Start dabbing with a large brush, make sure it's a soft edge brush, in areas here and there where you think the light is going to be hitting your subject. I've gone for the hair, the hand and the eyes, a little bit more of the hair down there as well. Let's do a little bit more, just keep dabbing on areas that you think could do with just a little bit of extra light really. Mouth, face, eyes, just ever so subtle. Now we're going to add a couple of solid colour adjustment layers. I want one for the sort of blues and one for the kind of orangey red, so I'm going to go for the blues first. It's very important to switch the blending mode to linear dodge, and then you can play with the opacity, bring it down a little bit if you need to. Now we're going to invert the mask again and take a white brush, soft edge again, and just go along the lines where the blue is coming from, like the blue light, the neon lights there, and look what it does. Actually has a really nice effect. I'm going to go along the top one too and down the right hand side, so it looks like we've got quite a bit of luminous light coming from the right hand side. That blue light is quite, that neon looks amazing. Just going to turn the flow down on my brush a little bit more, just a touch, and go back over those lights and see if we can just build up a nice neon glow coming from those lights. Now I'm going to add a second solid colour adjustment layer for the kind of reddish orangey look. Just going to add this in there quickly now. We can again bring the opacity down a little bit and turn into linear dodge blending mode. And change that colour ever so slightly, double click, and we can actually pick a colour from the available colours we have in the image. Have a mess around with that. I don't know if I quite like that, but we'll have a look. Obviously it's affecting the whole picture at the moment. We're going to invert the mask and again use a brush in the areas where we want some nice luminous light coming from these kind of red areas of the image. On the bottom maybe, yeah, I like that. Almost giving it a good split tone look. Now we're going to choose all 4 layers. We're going to convert to Smart Object, and we are going to take it into the Camera Raw filter, which is actually really good. It's a bit like Lightroom, so if you prefer to use Lightroom, you could bring this picture back into Lightroom and work on it from there instead. What we're going to do here is bring up the texture and the clarity, maybe not too much on the clarity. I don't want it to be a HDR looking image. Then experiment with bringing up the whites, maybe the highlights. We could use the highlights or the whites. I think probably the whites is better. Just add a little bit more light back in the light areas. And we can also bring up the shadows a little bit too. Next we're going to go down to our curves and have a little play here. We're going to kind of give it a bit of a washed out look, bring up the blacks, and just give it a bit of a kind of S curve, the kind of normal adjustments. Now we come to the colour mixer and play with our luminance. So what I want to do is actually bring up the cyans and bring up the blues, sorry, the aquas and the blues. Play around with that, give it a nice bluey tealy look. We like our orange and teal look. Just have a little play around. It's going to be different for different images, and I like that. And next we come down to our split tones, and I just want to add a bit more blues back into the shadows. What I'll do is choose the blues and bring up the saturation ever so slightly in the shadows. There, perfect. Sharpen the image here if you feel it needs a little bit of sharpening, but not too much.
Steal all the gold you can get. Show me your love.
Here we're going to add a little bit of iris blur. So once that's converted back, we can then go to filter, blur gallery, and then iris blur. This is going to give you a little pop-up like this. The middle part is going to be the middle part of where you want to have no effect at all. These dots will be where the effect starts, and the outer circle will be where the effect kind of ends, if you like. So it's like a diffused blur look. And once you find the sweet spot, obviously you want the face in focus completely, and then go up to the top to the blur and just add the amount of blur that you require. Now it's going to be different for different images depending on the size of your image too, and you can play around with the bokeh too if you want to add a little bit of bokeh effect. And there in the background is quite nice. Yep, I like that. And there you have it, a very quick 4-step process if you're using lights to really enhance your image and get something really nice looking out of some neon lights. Give it a nice glow, and there you go. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please whack a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe. I've got a lot of videos coming out soon, and hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, leave me a comment down below, and let's get on to the next video. Take care, bye.